Here we go. It is the nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com. I'm Chad Brendel. He is Aaron Smith. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com to download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get your Galactic sauce, get your tendies, get your fried chicken, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes, fried pickles, deviled eggs, you name it. Galactic's got you taken care of. They deliver. They also just go to Dayton. It's not that far.
Kentucky.
It's not that far. Aaron, you live downtown. You made it there in 12 minutes.
Correct.
It's not that far. You go to the exit you take to get to the levee. You go the opposite way of the levee.
And then you're there in about 6-7 minutes. It's on the right-hand side. Nice little parking lot right next to it. There's plenty of street parking right in front of it. No issues.
Yeah. And the food is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and Aaron, I think, is going to bathe in Galactic sauce.
I finished the leftover one I had this weekend. I told you, the only regret I have is not getting the fries because that's another avenue to eat more sauce.
Eat more sauce. The fries dipped in the sauce is chef's kiss. All right, let's get going. It's been a newsy day here at BearcatJournal.com.
You just got a Pete Thamel shout. I mean,
I did. Pete Thamel shouted me out. He didn't shout me out on the offensive line coach because I didn't put that on Twitter. I made that a Bearcat Journal exclusive. But sometimes you just gotta let the members know this is why you subscribe. And today was why you subscribe to BearcatJournal.com. You knew on Twitter this early afternoon, that Gino Guidugli has been elevated offensive coordinator.
Which comes as no surprise. We kind of all saw that coming.
Expected.
Writing was on the wall. Sure.
Yeah. Look, Gino's been here for 5 years. When they hired Gino from Central Michigan, he had already taken the job of offensive coordinator at Central Michigan. He was set to be an offensive coordinator. He came home to Cincinnati to coach running backs for a year. He coached quarterbacks for 4 years. It was his time. It's his turn. So now Gino Guidugli is the offensive coordinator / quarterback coach for the Bearcats. That's worst case scenario. If you're talking best quarterbacks in the history of UC football, he's number 2, number 3.
Yeah.
He gets a shot.
And I mean, if you don't give him this opportunity, you're going to lose him.
He's going to leave. Absolutely. That's we've all had careers that we've built and stacked. Look, at some point in time, when I was starting with Bearcat Journal, if I didn't get away into ownership, I would have looked for something else. And then I got partial ownership, and then I got partnership, and then I bought the whole thing out and became the owner. That's how life works, right? You move up or you move on.
Sure.
And now Gino moves up to offensive coordinator. He brings with him Mike Cummings, who is now the offensive line coach at Cincinnati. He was the offensive line coach / offensive coordinator at Central Michigan when Gino Guidugli was starting his career. He's been an offensive coordinator for over a decade. He's been an offensive line coach for most of his career.
What better guy to have as a guy that you've served under, if you will, to offer you the tutelage that you need to be a successful OC?
Right. And look, I know everybody wants to point to Ron Crook, which I get. As I posted on Twitter, Ron Crook is one of my favorite humans on the planet. I don't know 5 better people on the planet than Ron Crook. But this is a business. And the business, as it played out, there was a change at that position. And when you look at Mike Cummings, his strength has been developing NFL offensive tackles, right?
Yeah.
Eric Fisher. Remember Eric Fisher? Number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
I feel like that's kind of a big deal.
Developed by Mike Cummings. Remember those back in 2014 to 16 when UConn was kind of a pain in the ass because they had those big, dominant offensive lines and they just tried to ground and pound you?
Was that like Dan Orlovsky days?
I think it was a little after that.
Little post Dan Orlovsky?
But still the same philosophy.
Yep.
The offensive coordinator / offensive line coach was Mike Cummings. And then he went back to Central Michigan recently and has developed 2 guys on the offensive line of Central Michigan that are going to the Senior Bowl.
Again, that's pretty big deal.
This is a guy that has connections to Geno, that Geno is comfortable with, that has years of experience calling offense, and it's the next step for the Cincinnati offense with Gino Guidugli as offensive coordinator. I hate to see Ron Crook not be the offensive line coach, as Pete Thamel reported. And there's a reason when what I wrote this morning, I did not say that Ron Crook had been fired or dismissed from the program, just that he had been replaced as offensive line coach. There's a chance Ron Crook is back in 2022 in a different role. We'll see how that plays out. I think obviously he would prefer to find somewhere to be the offensive line coach because that's what that's what coaches do, is they want to coach that position.
Makes sense.
But this is how Luke Fickell operates, man. If Ron Crook doesn't have a landing spot, he's going to have a landing spot here. And they're going to find something for him to do. Because it's not a cutthroat, cold-hearted, you're out. It's things are changing and we're evolving. And if you need us, we're still here for you.
If there's anything I've learned about Luke Fickell in the time that he's been here, it's that if you're one of his guys,
you're one of his guys.
You're always one of his guys.
Yeah.
And I think that is, kind of the character that a lot of people have seen, but for those who maybe have been watching this program from afar until this season, he just has always been, and more than just with Freeman. I mean, granted, he did have Freeman living in his house, but
Freeman, his wife, and his 6 kids.
It's just the fact that he's just that way with everyone who's around him, and I think that's why people gravitate towards him. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Look, why do you love me? Because I've been loyal to you.
Correct. You've always taken care of me.
That's how this works. As somebody that's in a position of like, I don't even want to say power because I don't see myself that way, but like,
no, but you gave me an opportunity when I hadn't had this type of an opportunity. The same way that, Fick has done with countless coaches as far as GA positions, as far as positional coaches, as far as coordinators. He's, offered a hand, and that's it. Once you're in the fold, you're in the fold.
Once you're in the circle of trust, you're in the circle of trust.
Until there's reason not to be.
Right. And Ron Crook is not given a reason not to be in a circle of trust. It's just that I think if you go back and you look at playing Ohio State, at playing Georgia, at playing Alabama, this team has to get better at stopping the elite teams from pressuring the quarterback off the edge.
And it's kind of even more than that. It can't be gradual. It needs to be like yesterday.
Yeah.
So to try and coach Crook up onto something that I don't know is there when you have a guy who has a proven track record like this, it's kind of an upgrade. But that's not to say that Crook still would not be best served here on the staff in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The other couple nuggets I dropped on Twitter, not so subtly. Sometimes I'm pretty much subtle is not my thing.
No.
the two names on defense that I expect to see talked about by Pete Thamel over the next couple days. Kerry Combs,
West
Walt
Side
Stewart.
Jesus.
Kerry Combs and Walt Stewart. You have openings. So Brian Mason left. Brian Mason coached special teams and the sniper position. Perry Eliano left. Perry Eliano coached cornerbacks. So you have 2 spots to fill. All signs point to Kerry Combs coming back to take the cornerback and special teams role, and former Bearcat great Walt Stewart returning to coach the sniper position vacated by Brian Mason. And in terms of connections to this program, connections to this city, I couldn't be more elated with the direction of those 2 hires.
If you're going to lose 2 good recruiting coaches, you have to replace them with a great recruiting coach. And I think they did just that. I don't know that it's, I don't know that it's any more than black and white than that.
Yeah. I mean, Kerry Combs has recruited his ass off for Ohio State and for Cincinnati since he left Coleraine.
Correct.
Walter Stewart has been a guy that is coming up and working his way up the ladder. He's recruited at a high level. He's coached at a high level.
As we talked about last night, he had a first rounder at Temple.
They talked multiple times about bringing Walter Stewart back over the past couple of years. When there's been staff openings, when Greg Scruggs was hired, when Chad Wilt was hired, Walter Stewart was in the mix. And now the feeling is the time is right. There was no they knew Walter Stewart because they had built that relationship
over the course
over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So now is the time. So I'm excited to have both of those guys back in the program. The only position left to fill at this point, tight end coach. I think that's also a position that probably gets hired from within. I think there's a couple options internally between the analysts and the grad assistants. But if I had to pick one myself, I think we might be talking about another great guy that might have a bobblehead.
Yeah, I mean it's only half of a bobblehead.
Still a bobblehead. His head bobbles, right? There's a bobblehead.
You're right.
I don't know that one. I'm not reporting that. I'm not saying the name because I'm not reporting that one in any way, shape, or form like I did the other ones. I'm just saying if I think it might be who I think it might be, it could be a bobblehead guy. We'll see. We'll see on tight end. That one's still not as definitive as me putting it on the Bearcat Journal message board. And look, I said this today. I'm not tooting my own horn. Blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is, if you're a member of Bearcat Journal, you would have known every member of Wes Miller's staff before it happened. If you were a member of BearcatJournal.com, you also would have known how all of this was going to play out before it became national news.
Pay for them perks.
Sure, you might say, well, eventually we'll find out. Eventually it's going to make it. Yeah. But do you want to know first? If you want to know first, you need to be a member of BearcatJournal.com. Just like if you want to know about all the great food spots to eat around Cincinnati, you come to me and I tell you about Galactic Fried Chicken. That's what we do here. We tell you things that nobody else knows. Between the Bearcat Bounce, Pardon the Punctuation, the BCJ podcast, the Nightcap, Mo Egger putting up his first content. What'd you think of Mo's first article?
I wanted it to be longer, selfishly. Just saying. I don't know. I mean, it was good. I just as a
Well,
first off, I think we're all impressed that he wrote an article sober that night, or what appeared to be sober that night.
remember, Mo was in Wichita filling in for Dan Horde for the Wichita State game.
Didn't know that.
You didn't? Well, yeah. Mo called the game on 700 WLW.
I watched it on ESPN.
You passed out at 9 o'clock at night on Saturday.
I mean, I watched the Wichita State game. All the same.
On TV.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to it on radio. If you
No,
listened to it on radio, you would have known that Mo was there filling in for Dan.
In any case, as a troubled Bengals fan, as many people can relate to that, I think we all just wanted to see a little bit more just heartstrings, a little bit more just raw emotion of the win. But all the same, happy to have him on our team.
Yes. All right. That's a wrap. It's the nightcap. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. How about you? You tired?
I can sleep.
Have you shoveled a foot of snow yet?
It's been a task. I broke a shovel. I don't want to talk about
You broke a shovel?
I don't want to talk about
it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks to Galactic Fried Chicken. It's the nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!